That Naturopathic Podcast. TNP.
Hello there.
Hi, and thanks for joining us. I'm Dr. Michelle Pobega, naturopathic doctor.
And I'm Dr. David Miller, ND, and we hear your frustrations. This show is for you.
This show is for you if you're feeling like your current healthcare strategy is not getting to the root cause or the underlying reasons for your health.
This show is for you if you've been told that you're fine, but you definitely don't feel very well.
This show is for you if you're walking out of your doctor's office with 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 medications without any mention of diet, lifestyle, or a long-term game plan.
This show is for you if you've got several specialists taking care of you, but no one is really putting all the pieces together.
This show is for you if you believe that health should be part of healthcare. These problems have solutions.
We know it.
Our patients know it.
And we want you to know it.
Naturopathic medicine is the solution that you should know about.
Hello and welcome to another episode of That Naturopathic Podcast. Dr. Dave, Andy here doing a solo episode, just a short one today. I want to talk to you about a phenomenon that happens hopefully to some normal degree, which is having a bowel movement after you eat. And so it's a talk about the GASTRO-COLIC reflex. And so gastro means stomach, colic means colon. So basically what we've got here is a reflex, meaning it's normal. It's a normal reaction for the stretch of the stomach to lead to increased motility or movement of all the tubes that move all the contents of our guts along. So just like if you're looking at your reflexes, as a clinician or a doctor will rate your reflexes from 0 to 4. 0, they don't, there's no reflex, and 4 is hyper reflexive. Both the extremes are kind of problematic, and you can say the same thing applies to the gastro-colic reflex. We want sort of +2 reflexes in the gut. So it's normal. You can sort of imagine how it's normal that when we eat, we will then sort of urge through various means things to move along and have a bowel movement a little bit faster than you would if you did not eat. I didn't look at the evolutionary biology of this, but I would assume maybe something has to do with the fact that we didn't always know when our next, meal was going to come. So maybe we hold on to what we've previously used longer if we don't have something else to take its place. But as soon as something take its place, okay, within, let's say 10 to 30 minutes, things are happening that lead to increased movement of the contents of the bowel through the bowel and then into the sigmoid colon, with leading to like the urge to have a poop, defecate, whatever you want to call it. So this is a normal thing, and one incident or one sort of scenario comes to mind, which is when people have a coffee and then they have a bowel movement like within minutes after. Let's say that's an exaggerated gastrocolic reflex in some people, but the coffee is the problem, and it's not necessarily the caffeine. Decaffeinated coffee may still give you a gastrocolic reflex. And what we're doing here, I think, is we're talking about this caffeinated beverage, coffee, not as just a source of caffeine, but as a kind of stomach irritant, which then initiates maybe stronger gastrocolic reflexes. So that's why a lot of people will have a coffee and then have a poop sometime within, maybe 30 minutes after doing that. Look, there's lots of mediators. There's some like nerdy stuff here. There's lots of mediators, the enteroendocrine cells, the interstitial cells of Cajal, the autonomic nervous system, the Auerbach's myenteric plexus. So there's like basically, what are you looking at here? Hormonal cells, enteroenteric cells. These are enterochromaffin cells, etc. They are the largest, actually they're the largest endocrine organ, lining the whole sort of epithelial layer of the gut and sort of sensing the contents. So they'll have an influence on the gastrocolic reflex. The interstitial cells of Cajal, these are like, they have like an inherent pacemaker, and through gap junctions, they control how things contract. And that's why you get that sort of segmental contraction that happens. We've also got the autonomic nervous system with the sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system, the components of that. With the sympathetic nervous system causing inhibition of the that gastrocolic reflex, and parasympathetic causing increased gastrocolic reflex. So remember, it's rest and digest. Parasympathetic is rest and digest, and sympathetic fight or flight. So it makes sense to not, have to poop while you're running away from something dangerous. We do that more when we're resting and digesting. So it's minutes after eating. Like I said, it's usually probably within like under 30 minutes after eating, with lots of different chemical mediators, including gastrin, cholecystokinin, and serotonin, and involving different types of control, like we've talked about, neural, hormonal, and myogenic. Neural, for example, like you might have problems with the gastrocolic reflex. Let's say it's lazy, or becomes absent in like the constipation of maybe Parkinson's, early Parkinson's, etc. And then you can have, you can't, it's hard not to talk about the microbiome in some sense. You can have the gut microbiome affecting these enteroendocrine cells. And then, these mediating or modifying the speed the speed or vigor, let's say, of the gastrocolic reflex. So, a good example of like a crazy high gastrocolic reflex problem is when you have dumping syndrome, most common after gastro bypass. And I would say, maybe not dumping syndrome, but I see a lot of people have this kind of similar thing where you get undigested food in the stools, like there's like a big kind of urge to have a watery bowel movement with undigested food in the stools after eating. That might be like a less crazy variant of this dumping syndrome. That means your pyloric sphincter doesn't work too, guys. Like, the sphincter that's supposed to hold things in, if it just is incompetent or opens too fast, then there you're going to have an exaggerated gastrocolic reflex. And then you could say constipation, like chronic constipation, kind of being the opposite problem, where there's, insufficient gastrocolic reflex, and you can see why some people might lean on coffee a little bit if they're constipated to make something like that happen. So I guess the thing here is to say the gastrocolic reflex is a normal thing, and like many parameters or different functions in the body, we're kind of looking at extremes at either end as being maybe problematic, and you kind of want to have it in the middle. So that you do kind of move things along naturally, making room for the new and getting rid of the old. And that is totally, totally normal. But if it's like you're super constipated, or the opposite, and you're like running to the bathroom within, a few minutes of having your coffee or some other kind of like stomach irritant. Remember, when the stomach's irritated, it just goes, ah. So if you've got like visceral sensitivity, generally the more sensitive the cells are, the more visceral sensitivity you have, the more you're going to have issues with this gastrocolic reflex. So it's another way of looking at maybe what's going on. If you got a strong gastrocolic reflex, you maybe are going to look into different things than if you've got a really sluggish one. And doing everything you can to decrease the visceral sensitivity is probably going to be one of the ways, especially, let's say, of the stomach, visceral sensitivity of the stomach. If you find ways to minimize that visceral sensitivity with demulcents, etc., you may experience some benefit from your mad dash to the toilet after your double. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed sharing it. Have a great week.